A man who blames others for all his misfortunes. Yes, that's right. I'm talking about my husband. I lost a game because of you. I lost my job because of you. I got wet in rain because you wouldn't let me carry an umbrella. I'm unhappy because you're a plague. Here's my story of how I left home with my daughter, prepared for him to blame me for his unhappiness. My name is Shelley, and I'm 44 years old. My husband was my high school classmate, and we married when I was 23. I work part-time, 4 times a week at a nearby diner. We have one daughter, Emma, who will turn 20 this year, and she is a strong, bright girl. She graduated from high school and went to culinary school. She now works in a hotel restaurant. My husband is the assistant manager of a hamburger chain, so our family is in the food service industry. When I got home that day, my husband complained to me.
Why didn't you give me an umbrella this morning?
What?
You knew it might rain later in the evening, didn't you? You should have told me because you always spend your free time watching TV. Thanks to you, I got wet.
I don't know why he assumes that I watch TV in my free time. Anybody can get the weather forecast on their phone nowadays. You're not in elementary school. I can't take care of you like that. If you don't want to get wet, why didn't you buy an umbrella at the supermarket?
How can I buy such a thing out of my meager allowance? If you'd let me carry an umbrella, I wouldn't have to spend it. What a waste that would be.
Well, that's probably true. But you should have noticed and taken care of it yourself. And every single thing you say, it's so cheap. You say it's a small allowance, but it's supposed to be the average allowance for a man in his 40s. Or are all men in the world like this? Do all the men in the world complain to their wives like this every day? As we're all in the food service industry, it's not always easy to get time off together. It's rare that we're off on weekends and holidays, or at least there are very few days when my husband and I have the same days off. But one day when I had my day off for my part-time job, my daughter was also free. So for the first time in a long time, my daughter and I decided to go shopping together. We shopped till we were satisfied, but we only ended up buying daily necessities and food. Then we had lunch at the food court. Dad, you were classmates in high school, right? My daughter says while carrying the chocolate sundae we were having for dessert to her mouth. That's right. What was it that made you decide? I don't know. Well, I realized that I have never told my daughter the story of how we got married. Now he has gained weight and there's no trace of it in high school. My husband was the ace of the baseball team, and I was the manager of the team. Wow, what youth! After graduating from high school, we each got a job. When we turned 20, we met again at a reunion and started dating. We dated for about 2 years and got married. So cliché! My daughter laughs as she says that. Not everybody's life is as dramatic as the movies. What about you, James, right? How's the relationship going? My daughter's dating a guy 3 years older than her at the restaurant where she works. She hasn't introduced him to me, but from what I've heard, he seems like a nice young man. It's going pretty well. It's hard for both of us to get time off on the same day, but we've been talking lately about how we want to have a small restaurant together in the future. What? Are you guys talking about marriage? Nah, it's still a long way to go. We need to work hard now and save up for the future. They're both working hard toward the same goal. Even if you break up, you'll still have some money saved up, I said jokingly. Oh my God, Mom, don't say that. She laughed. It's times like this that I'm glad I had a girl. If my child had been a boy, I wouldn't have such a close relationship. But you know what? Dad always blames others for everything, doesn't he? When I was a kid, I remember he'd always say things like, I missed the train because you needed to go to the bathroom on the way out, and I got a cold because I had to go pick you up. I've recently realized that you get that too. Like the other day when he said that you didn't let him take his umbrella. You just noticed that now? He's always been like that. Every bad thing that happens is somebody else's fault but his own. He's the type that says, it's not my fault, every opportunity he has. Oh, really? He's a jerk, isn't he? Is my husband a jerk? I never thought about it until my daughter told me. Not so much as to blame anyone, I just thought of it as a whine or a complaint. Around when you were born, your father worked in a restaurant. It was a pretty high-class place. One day, one of his regular customers made a reservation to treat an important client. Oh no, I have a bad feeling about this. The client was allergic to nuts, and your father was in charge of dessert. The customer had warned him to be careful of his allergy, but at that time common allergens were only crustaceans like shrimp or almonds. Nowadays it's known that people can be allergic to almost everything. But your father thought he was talking about his allergy to almonds, so he served it with cashews instead of almonds. Well, that's... The customer was furious because he had warned him beforehand, and his boss also said that he'd warned him beforehand and your father was at fault. Well, it's his fault for not making sure, but he ended up getting fired because of it. I can sympathize with him, but... He still sometimes recalls that time, saying it was because of that boss, even though it was 20 years ago. We came home with a huge baggage, continuing our mother-daughter talk while putting away the things we'd bought. Maybe that's why I fell in love with James. He's always so positive. Sometimes I think he's a little crazy, but I like his positive attitude and his perseverance. Yeah? But in 20 years, you'll probably think he's really crazy. Oh my god, Mom, that's so funny. It's so funny because it's so possible. I love it when she's upbeat like this. I'd rather have a happy idiot than a depressed idiot. Are you talking about your dad? Maybe. After 20 years of being a married couple, you're bound to have some frustrations, but you manage to live with each other. I thought that's what married couples did. We'd bought some Chinese food requested by daughter at the food court. My daughter said it's okay to cut corners once in a while.
What's with the takeout Chinese food? You're cutting corners, aren't you?
My husband complained, as expected. I told Mom I wanted to eat it. My daughter covered for me, so my husband said nothing more. He has a weakness for his daughter.
Apparently a guy the same age as me became the manager of the store in the next town over. The previous manager was transferred to the head office. It's probably because it's in a better location and they have more sales than us. Our store is not so good because the manager is useless.
If the manager is useless, why don't you work harder to make up for it? Maybe it's because of the conversation we had during the day. My daughter is very critical of her father today.
It's not that simple. You're too young to understand. I know the guy that got promoted, and when I worked with him, he was really useless. He was just a normal waiter for a long time, but he got married and got promoted maybe because his wife brought something good to him. Unlike us, they have 3 kids.
I'm sorry I'm the only kid here. Isn't that because that person was willing to work hard for the family? If you say that about him, it's like it's Mom's fault that you can't get promoted.
I'm not saying that.
Yes, he is. It's always someone else's fault that things aren't going well for him. If someone else is doing well, it's not their own effort, but he just sees it as luck. Hey, stop arguing over dinner. When I warned them, they ate their meals in silence. After he finished eating, he quickly went to the bathroom. Aren't you angry at what he's been saying? My daughter said while drinking tea after dinner. I'm not angry at him for such a little thing. No, actually, I am angry. But I've given up on saying it. Do you respect him? What? Respect? I don't think so. After what he said to you, you're going to live the rest of your life with someone you don't respect? Well, when you put it that way, and considering the average life expectancy, I'm just about at the halfway point. My daughter's straightforward question stuck in my mind in a way I didn't expect. In a few years, she'll be out of this house, and when she does, I'll be alone with him. For the first time, the words middle-aged divorce popped into my head. A few days later, my husband said,
Maybe I should change jobs. The manager and the part-timers are useless. I really don't have any luck.
I can't imagine that changing jobs at the age of 44 is going to be a good thing. You always blame someone else. It's not going to work out if you change jobs like that.
But it's true.
You blame everyone around you for everything. You never change.
What the hell? What do you know?
You know Konosuke Matsushita, the founder of Panasonic in Japan? When he held job interviews, he'll ask the applicants if they were lucky. And he didn't recruit them if they answered that they were unlucky, no matter how good they were.
What the heck is that?
That's why I think you will be rejected in the interview even if you try to change your job. My husband fell silent after hearing about an anecdote about the god of management I happened to see on the internet recently. A few days after that happened, my husband, who rarely comes home after drinking, came home very drunk.
Today was the welcome party for the new manager.
What? The store in the next town over?
No, the manager of our store suddenly resigned and decided to go back to his hometown.
If that's the case, he should have told me beforehand. I wouldn't have made dinner then.
I'm the assistant manager, so I'm supposed to be the next in line for manager, right? But the guy who was assistant manager at the other store became our manager. It's not right, is it?
If I told him my honest opinion at a time like this, a fight would definitely break out, so I kept my mouth shut. My daughter seemed to want to say something, but didn't.
Then they told me that starting next month, my salary would be reduced.
What? Why?
Penalty for food poisoning. $200 less for 6 months. The previous manager was so stressed out over it that he quit.
It's a big deal for a restaurant to cause food poisoning. We take every precaution to make sure that doesn't happen.
It's the part-timer's fault. Why would you come to work and not report that one of your family members caught the virus? I bet he didn't wash his hands properly.
The norovirus is highly contagious and pretty nasty. Isn't it the job of the higher-ups to manage the part-timers properly so that it doesn't happen? I'm also in the business of serving food to customers, so I got a little angry.
Shut up. What's the matter with you? It's your fault I didn't get promoted and my salary is reduced.
Huh? What? You may be drunk, but there is a limit to how far you can go with blaming others.
Nothing good has happened since I married you. You plague.
You went so far, now treating me like a plague. Oh, God. I can only sigh now. At that moment, my daughter said, "Should we leave, Mom?" Maybe he'll be happier if the plague leaves.
What are you saying? Are you idiots? If you want to leave, why don't you just leave then?
He's drunk, so he obviously feels confident. Well, I'll take your word for it and leave. I'm sick and tired of you making everything someone else's fault. But it's your fault we're leaving. With that being said, my daughter and I packed the bare minimum of our belongings and left the house. What do you want to do? Go to your parents' house? It's too much trouble to explain everything. Let's stay in a hotel somewhere. I guess so. There's a nice hotel in front of the station. Let's stay there. It was kind of refreshing. I was treated like a plague, but I felt more like I was freed from the plague. The next morning, I got several calls on my phone in the early hours. That's when my husband usually gets up and gets ready. I don't know how much he remembers about last night. He probably woke up and is in a panic after realizing that his daughter and I were gone. I ignored the calls, and soon after, my daughter's phone rang. You don't have to answer it, just ignore it. I have the day off today, but my daughter has to go to work at 10. We had an elegant breakfast at a hotel restaurant, just the two of us. I'm going home once during the day to get a few more things. Let's stay here at least one more night and figure out what we're going to do. Okay, I forgot my phone charger, so please pick that up for me too. She said that and left for work. I wondered what I would do if my husband took the day off work and stayed home, but it never happened. Our family lives in a 3-bedroom apartment. We talked about buying a house a long time ago, but in the end we decided that it might be better to save up for retirement. So we ended up staying in the apartment. But I'm really glad I'm not tied down to a house. I guess I'm lucky too. After what he said to you, you're going to live the rest of your life with someone you don't respect? I was thinking about what my daughter said to me. He's not unfaithful. He's not a violent man. He's not a bad husband, but he's not a good husband either. Maybe he's a normal husband, but I thought of living with him for the next half of my life. And I didn't want to live with him. I didn't want to live with a man who called me a plague. No, thank you. That night, to my surprise, my daughter came back to the hotel room with her boyfriend.
Mom, I'm sorry to drop in on you like this. James and I have been talking, and if you really want to move out of that house, would you like to rent a room with us?
My daughter surprised me when she said that. Her boyfriend, James, is a big, bright young man.
It's funny that I'm saying this because we've just met. We've been talking about moving in together for a while now. But when I think about saving money, I thought it would be better for both of us to stay at home.
That's right. And we both work full time. So it would be great if you could take care of the house.
That would be great for me, but I'm not intruding, am I?
Not at all.
They both said that in unison. The next day, I waited for my husband to come home. I don't want to be with somebody who calls me a plague, so please let me leave you. I put the divorce papers on the table and said to my husband,
What? Are you kidding me? Are you really going to leave?
Yeah, you'll be happy when the plague is gone, won't you? You're not going to say that now your wife is gone, and start blaming things on it again, right? What's your excuse going to be now?
Oh, that's... Calling you a plague was just... It was more of a figure of speech, because I was drunk.
Don't blame the alcohol. I'm sick of it. I'll take half of your savings, since it's our joint property.
How could you?
My husband looked at the statement while saying that.
What? Is this half?
He's obviously surprised. My husband's salary is not a lot, but I managed to make ends meet. I had saved up nearly $140,000 by combining my salary of working part-time. Half of that is about $70,000. If you're going to take it, you have to sign the divorce agreement. I told him to sign it, and he did. I had a little hope at this point of him stopping and apologizing to me.
You saved so much money by making ends meet with my small salary. You're a good wife, and I'm sorry. I'm going to change and do my best from now on, so please forgive me.
If he really did say that, I might have reconsidered. But it's just a dream that can't come true. In reality, my husband was blinded by the $70,000 he had in front of him. He signed the divorce agreement. It was as easy as playing catch. And so I moved in with my daughter and her boyfriend, James, in a 3-bedroom apartment. I continued to work part-time as before while being in charge of the meals and the laundry. The cleaning is done by the 2 youngsters on their days off. It's hard to get the same days off, but when they come home, they seem to be happy to be getting time together with each other. Both my daughter and her boyfriend are cheerful, and we have a lot of laughs every day.
I'm happy to be able to eat delicious food both in the morning and at night thanks to you, Shelley.
I'm happy to hear him say that. After that, I heard that my ex-husband really changed his job. Or more precisely, he tried to change jobs. He quit the hamburger chain restaurant that he had been dissatisfied with. I think it was because he had money in his pocket. For a while, he was living off that money. When he had about 1/3 of the money left, he finally started looking for a job. But even though he went to job interviews, he never found a new job, and he finally ran out of money. He's called me once and cried to me.
Because you unilaterally asked me for a divorce. I'm in a lot of trouble. If you feel bad about it, just please lend me some money.
I see that he still hasn't gotten over his habit of blaming everyone else. I don't feel bad at all, so I won't give you money. I'm happy now and I feel like I'm living my life. You can't keep blaming everyone else like that. Take responsibility for your own life. Goodbye. With that, I hung up the phone. 3 years later, my daughter and her boyfriend got married. They didn't have a ceremony or reception. They said they would use the money to open their own restaurant. At least you should wear a dress, take pictures, or at least take a honeymoon. I'll pay for it.
What? You helped me a lot to open the store. You're supposed to be working for us, so you don't have to do that.
My daughter hesitates. I want to do it. Seeing you happy is what makes me happy. When I said that, she agreed with me with tears in her eyes.
You know, Mom, I've told Dad that I'm getting married. After all, he is my father.
Isn't that good? I split up, so he's a stranger to me. But you're father and daughter. Did he say anything?
Yeah, just congratulations. He cared more about you than he did about me. He said he didn't realize how much he appreciated you until he lost everything.
Really? Didn't he say he was unhappy because of me?
No, he didn't. He said he's changed and is working harder than ever.
I see.
I'm hoping one day my father will come to eat at our restaurant.
She's a sweet, positive girl. When my daughter and her husband opened their restaurant, they received a little congratulatory flower from my ex-husband. I almost cried when I saw it, and I thought, if he shows up someday, I wonder if I could welcome him with a smile.